Hey, hey, hey. Hey, happy Friday. It is time for another Relationship Friday. As you come in, let me know where you're tuning in from. I love this little jingle that plays. Hey, everybody. Happy Friday. We made it through another week. So happy Friday, everybody. It is good to see you all. As you come in, let me know where you're tuning in from. You know, I always like to give a shout out. Happy Friday. Happy Friday. Welcome, welcome, welcome to another Relationship Friday. I'm your host, Rachel Hunter, your licensed clinical social worker. And tonight's Relationship Friday is brought to you by RDH Counseling and Consulting, where we help you become your healthiest self. So I'm excited to have another chance to connect with you all on Fridays. For those of y'all, if this is your first time joining us, let me know that in the comments. Let me know. Say newbie if this is your first time joining us. If this is your first time joining us on Relationship Friday, we talk all things relationships. And I always like to let people know that we're adults. And so some of the conversation that we have, it's adult conversation. So we talk all things relationships. So this is part two of a conversation that we had last Friday, where we started talking about what you should be asking and talking about before you get in these marriage streets. Hey, Nathaniel. Hey, Rosalind, what you need to be asking and what conversations you need to be having. And I felt like it was important to have this conversation because so many of the people that I work with, whether it's men, women, or couples, they are having some of these issues because they have not had these conversations. So welcome, welcome, welcome. Please don't forget to like the page, share the page, if you would do me a favor right now, share this live, share it, invite some of your friends to come in, and let us know where you are tuning in from. I always like to see where my people are coming in from. So last week, I think it was Portsmouth and Norfolk that were in here deep. So let me know where you are tuning in from. We are streaming to, let me see, where are we? We are on Facebook, we're on YouTube, we are on LinkedIn, and it seems like there's another place, but that's where we are. If you haven't, at the end of this show, I want you to subscribe to our YouTube channel. We're trying to get our YouTube channel subscribers up. I think we just got over there not too long ago. So we're up to 32, but like, can we at least get 100? Like, can we do that? All right. So let us know where you are tuning in from. We would love to connect, shout out to you, give you a shout out. And we're happy to have you here. We're happy to have you here. All right. So last week we talked about sex, that is a big conversation that needs to be had. And a lot of times it's not discussed. People are not talking about sex, about their preferences, about their likes, dislikes, and that needs to be had. We also talked about finances. That was another big one, that people are not discussing their finances, their financial situation. Are you in debt? What's your credit looking like? What are we going to do when it comes to putting our money together? Like, are we going to put our money together? So that was a conversation. That was a question that we talked about last week. We also talked about the family component. Do you want children? Do you not want children? And those are conversations that need to be had, and many people are not having it. So we are going to pick up from the family part. So as you're coming in, invite people, share this with people that you know need to see it. So people who are single, but are thinking about getting divorced, people who are dating and are thinking about, I said divorce. So let me back that right on up. Because the point is to keep you from getting divorced. So you need to have these conversations beforehand. So if you are single and you're thinking about getting married, I want you to send this out to somebody that's in that situation. For people that you know that are engaged or dating and thinking about getting married, this is for them. And then for people that are married and you're like, I wish I had to ask some of these questions. What else do I need to ask? Connect with them, invite them to join in on the conversation as well. All right. So family. One of the big things that I see, so as a therapist, as a coach that works with a lot of couples, a lot of individuals, when it comes to families, let me tell y'all, you want to have some clear and direct conversations about how the family is going to play a role. Let me tell you why I say that. So, the family of origin really plays a big role in how a person thinks, what they think about things, what they have seen role model for them. They are going to oftentimes emulate it, whether the good or bad, unless they have had some interruption in unhealthy patterns. Okay. So you want to have conversations about, what did you see your mom do? What did you see your dad do? Did you have that role model for you? Right. So having those kind of conversations. The other thing that you want to be doing, okay, and we talked a little bit about this last week, is when you're out here in these dating streets, you should not just be out here having fun. Dating really is about, now it's whatever, let me back up and let me say this. If you're dating with the intention, if you would like to be married and you're dating, as you're dating, that really is your opportunity to do due diligence, meaning you are looking for information, you are gathering information, you are screening and assessing information. Does that make sense how I'm saying it? Okay. So as you are dating these individuals, those are the things you want to be looking for. How does this person connect with their family? How do they get along with their siblings? How do they get along with their parents? Do they have connections with their parents? How does their family do? You want to know that, right? Because and I'll use myself as an example. I come from a very big family. I come from a large family and we are loud. We have a good time. And there's no shyness. We're not quiet at all, right? So someone coming into, hey, Renee's in the building. Renee, where are you joining us from? Nathaniel, Rosalind, where are y'all joining us from? So we have a large family. We're not quiet at all. We talk, we laugh, we love having fun. So anybody that comes in and is not used to that, they could be like, whoa, wait a minute, right? Because if you are coming from a smaller family, you all may not observe holidays. Holidays may not be a big thing to you, right? And so if you're coming from, like, my family, we love to get together. We love to crack jokes, have fun. And so that's how I am used to behaving, right? And engaging with family. I'm very close with my family and we talk, right? Is the person you're connected to, are they close to their family? Are they going to be going on holidays and going and connecting with their families during the holidays? Those are things you want to kind of be seeing. How do they get along? How do they treat their mother? How do they treat their father? Those are things that you want to be assessing for. Hey, welcome. We got P-Town is in the building. I think last week P-Town was in the building. Like there was a lot of people from Portsmouth as well. So when you're thinking about family, that is going to be important. So let me hear from y'all. When you're thinking about family, what would be some questions that you would want to know about your partner's family? Throw that in the comment, throw that in the chat. Let me see what y'all have to say. Hey, Rosalind, Portsmouth is in the building. Listen, last week y'all were in here deep. Yes. Welcome. MSW, fellow MSW in the building. Yes. So when y'all come in, let us know where you're tuning in from, but also invite people. Tag somebody if you would. Share this for those of y'all who have already shared it. Thank you very much. Did I share it? I'm asking y'all to do something I haven't done myself. Let me share this right now. Thank you for reminding me. But let me hear in the comments when you're thinking about family, if you are married, what are questions that you asked your partner about their family? If you're not married, but you're dating, what are some questions you would want to know or you think is important to ask? I want to know that. So let me know in the comments what comes up for you as I share. All right, I shared it. Did y'all share it? Did you share it? All right. So family is going to be very important. So the poll is, what are some of the questions you'd like to know about your partner's family? Like, what do you think you should be asking when it comes to family? One of the big things for me is how are we going to do the holidays? Like that needs to be discussed, right? Are we going to my family's, Thanksgiving, Christmas, Hanukkah, are we going to my family? Are we splitting it up? What would be the fair way to do it? Because I've worked with people who that conversation either has not come up or the other person, there's no compromise there. It's like they always go to the wife's family's house. And the husband is like, can we go to my family's house sometimes? And the wife just has her foot down, or vice versa, where they're always going to the husband's house. And the wife is like, yo, can we go spend some time with my family? So that really is a conversation that you want to have. How are we going to do holidays? How are we going to split that up? And sometimes we don't even think about that, right? Like, oh, I didn't even think that we needed to have that conversation. Because reality is we're going to go to my family's holidays all the time. So, long as we know that. No, so that is conversation that you need to have, right? What the family, you want to kind of have that conversation so that everybody is clear. Rosalind said, thank you for responding, Rosalind. Rosalind said, faith, foundation, interpersonal relationships, finances, interests. I've been married going on 28 years. Excellent. So listen, Rosalind, these are definitely questions that people need to have and topics that need to be covered, but a lot of people are not talking about it. So that is, those are really good things, right? And we're going to talk about some of them today. Last week, we talked about the finances. So you're hitting it right on the head. When we're talking about family, the last thing I'm going to say about the family is you want to look at the relationships. Is this person what we call enmeshed? And what enmeshed means is basically they are so intertwined with their family that they find it very difficult to make decisions on their own. They always need to get input from their family. What their family's opinion matters the most to them. So things like that you want to pay attention to. People who are mama's boys, you need to be paying attention to that, right? Because men that are, as they say, mama's boys, sometimes have a very difficult, they're very enmeshed, can be. And it becomes unhealthy when it goes to a level where he is unable to make decisions outside of his mother's approval, right? And you want to think about that. You want to be looking at that because in a marriage, right? So you want to think about the things that I'm seeing now. How is this going to translate into the marriage? Okay. So, hey, welcome, Ryan. Ryan, where are you joining us from? When y'all come in, let me know where y'all are tuning in from, where y'all are watching in from. So, when it comes to, and thank y'all for sharing this. So, when it comes to men who are enmeshed with their mama's boys, sometimes it is hard for them to lead their household, meaning the husband and wife have conversations and we make decisions together, right? Sometimes, and again, I am not generalizing, so you'll hear me saying sometimes, right? Because there's nothing wrong with the man honoring his mom, having a great relationship with his mom. However, you joining us from your car, drive safely. But however, it becomes problematic when he is taking the advice of his mother over his wife. That will ruin a marriage. And so those are the things you want to be thinking about, looking for. How does he engage with his mom? It's good that he has a relationship with his mom, but is mom running the show? Because as a woman, that's going to be problematic, especially if mom is unhealthy, right? So that's going to be important. Hey, Shayna, tuning in from Portsmouth is in the building tonight. Okay. So welcome, Portsmouth. We love y'all. Thank you for joining us. So when we're talking about that kind of enmeshment, the other thing is daddy's girls. Sometimes we as ladies, we can be ridiculous. Like, do you want a dad? Like what we doing, right? It's nothing wrong with having a relationship with your father, but when it comes to you putting your father over your husband, that's problematic. Right. So men, those are things you want to be assessing and looking for. How does she relate to her father? Does her father kind of like run the show for her? So those are things you want to think about. Ladies, same thing for you. You want to see, how does he connect with his mom, and siblings too, right? How do they connect? Are they dysfunctional? How do they handle conflict, right? Is every time we go to a family gathering, there are people fighting. We fight at every family gathering. There's a fight. Do you think this is normal, right? How does your partner respond? Is this like, okay, this is what it is, and he's cool with it, or she's cool with it? Like, those are things you want to look at. Those are things that you want to be aware of. Ravania's in the building. Hey, Ravania, where are you joining in from? So we are talking, for those of y'all who just tuned in, welcome. It is another Relationship Friday. We're talking about the questions you must ask, the conversations you need to have before you are saying I do. And so we started off with family, and we're talking about how people are relating. Is your partner a mama's boy? Is your partner a daddy's girl? And are there boundaries that are crossed? Are you noticing that? Where y'all gonna go for the holidays? Is there have y'all discussed that? Is that something that you all are thinking about? Okay. So you want to have those conversations. The next thing that you need to have is, what are the spiritual beliefs? Is your partner spiritual at all? Maybe they're not. Maybe he or she is an atheist. Maybe they're like, listen, I don't do all that. You want to know, right? And you get to decide from there, what do I do? Right? So having that conversation, what are your spiritual beliefs? I cannot tell you how many times I have worked with individuals that conversation never came up, and now they are married, and now they're like, we're not going there. I'm not taking my child to that church. I'm not raising my child like that. And those are conversations that you need to have, right? So what is your partner's spiritual beliefs, right? Not only what is their spiritual beliefs, but what where do they stand with it, right? So are they Buddhist? Are they practicing? That's the other thing, right? Because sometimes we can have beliefs or we can be raised a certain way, but we're not practicing, right? So those are things you want to find out. Hey, Diane, where are you joining in from? We want to shout you out. So okay, so drive carefully, Ryan. So is the person practicing, right? So what were they raised? Do they still connect with those beliefs? You want to know that. You want to know that. And I'll give you y'all know I always use myself as an example. Tennessee. Hey, I'm gonna talk to you to Diane about Tennessee. Ryan, Atlanta. Okay. All right. Awesome. 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 Welcome. Well, thank y'all for being here. So, listen, I want to know from y'all when it comes to spiritual beliefs, what specific questions do you think you should ask? Even if you're not married, if you're dating, or even if you're single, what are some things you think you should ask, right? What would be questions that we should be asking our partners when it comes to spiritual beliefs, right? What are you thinking? So y'all put that in the comments. The other thing too is in a few minutes, I'm going to put y'all going to see a link for you to come on live. So when we start talking about some of these things, sometimes people want to come live instead of typing it in. And so you'll be able to do that as well if you want to come on live and share your thoughts about these questions. If you ask these questions, what was your experience like? Are there questions you wished you had asked or conversations you wish you had before you got married? So you'll be able to come on live and do that. But again, I want to know, what are the specific questions you think you should have had or should ask when it comes to spiritual beliefs? I want to know that. I want to know that. Ryan said, have you ever been with the same sex? Listen, so last week we talked about sex, and that is, I cannot, and this goes to spiritual beliefs a little bit, right? Because sometimes, depending on what your religious beliefs are, some denominations, some religious groups are a lot less open to having conversations about sex. It needs to happen. It needs to happen. And so having that, specifically asking that question, but having the overall generalized conversation about sex is important. It is important. And so, yeah, I need to know, have you been, what are you attracted to? What kind of sexual practices have you engaged in? What do you like? What turns you off? What turns you on? What are you into? We need to have these conversations so that we can know if we're on the same page. And it's okay if y'all are not on the same page. At least you know it. And then you make your moves from there, right? So that's important. Rosalind said, thank you, Rosalind. Rosalind said, what is your personal relationship with Christ? Are you a Christian? Do you have a spiritual belief? If not, okay, you need, at least you know, and then you have a decision to make, right? When you are asking these questions, the other thing that you want to do is to look at the response. So in addition to them answering the question, how are they when you ask the question? Those are also things that you want to be looking for. Are they resistant to answering your questions? You don't need to know that. Well, thank you very much. You have answered that. And I am clear on where we are with that, right? So those are things this is why you ask questions. You are, again, doing your due diligence and you're finding the information out. Hey, Yolanda, where are you joining us from? Thank you for responding. Yolanda said, do you believe in God? Like, I think that's a question, and it sounds basic, but people don't ask it. Do you? Some people don't believe in God, right? And so you would want to know that if you're a Christian, if you believe in God and your partner doesn't, that could cause some major issues for y'all. So you want to know, you want to ask, you want to have those conversations. Ryan said, yes, same-sex relationships to heterosexual relationships should be known because it's definitely spiritual. So Ryan is saying, listen, there is a spiritual connection as well, right? When we're talking about what are your spiritual beliefs, there are religious beliefs that are connected to what we do, how we engage in sexual practices. So that's going to be something you want to discuss. Even, are we having sex before we get married? That's a conversation you need to have. What are your thoughts on that? How you feel about that, right? Do you have any spiritual or religious convictions when it comes to that? Are you interested in other religions? I think this is so important, that these conversations, these questions are asked and these conversations are had. Thank y'all for sharing. Virginia is in the building. We had a lot of people from Portsmouth here today. So welcome, 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 everybody. Go ahead, share this, invite people. Thank you so much. Make sure that you are following RDH Counseling Consulting page. We appreciate it. Do you believe in polygamy, more than one spouse? So let's talk about that, right? So I think maybe last year before that, we did a show on that. So you can go back and watch it. And we talked about polygamy. So in Virginia, polygamy is illegal, but you do have people who are interested in that lifestyle. And so you want to know, what does your partner think about involving other people in your marriage? I don't know how many couples I've worked with where that's an issue. And one partner is saying to the other partner, you need to be open to doing this. You need to be open to bringing someone else into the marriage, because I feel like that would spice it up. Now, if this conversation had been had at the beginning before they even got married, that person would already know that, yes, I'm open to this, or nah, what we ain't fitting to do is bring anybody else up in here, right? But those are conversations that were never had. What is appropriate to you? Because for Christians, that is not typical, one man, one wife, right? Nowadays. But Ryan, I want you to think about the biblical, right? If you're talking and connecting it to a spiritual or biblical principle, everybody in the Old Testament had multiple wives. It was only the ladies who couldn't engage, and I can't think of the term for the. So polygamy is for men who have multiple wives, but there is another term, and it's slipping my mind, for the women who have multiple husbands. I cannot think of the word, but biblical, it is. If you want to throw it out there, it is biblical. Y'all know y'all love to use that. It's biblical. It is biblical. So yes, polygamy is biblical. Hey, Andrea, Andrea, where are you tuning in from, Andrea? Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hey, Vernell. Vernell is in the building. Hey, Ryan. Listen, for those of y'all just joining in, I know you caught the tail and you like, what is they talking about? So we are talking about questions that you have got to have before you get married. And so we were talking about spiritual beliefs, right? That is a conversation you want to have. What do you believe in God? Do you practice? What do you practice? What are your spiritual beliefs? Are you open to exploring? Some people are like, listen, I'm open. I am finding out. I'm on a journey. Whatever. You want to have that conversation. You also want to tie that into, how are we going to raise our children? Right. I know couples who have mixed religions. So one couple is one religion, one is another. And so they have to figure that part out. How are we going to raise our children? Are we going to teach our children, or are we going to allow our children to kind of make their own choices, make their own decisions? I've worked with couples that are like that as well. So those are conversations you definitely want to have. What do you believe? for those people who are Christians, that's the conversation we need to have. What do you believe? Like, are you, as the male, do you know what your role is, your biblical role? Are you able to walk in that, right? Can you cover me? If not, right? But you want to have these conversations. You won't know until you have that whole conversation. I'm loving the conversation in the comments. Let me go to the comments. All right, Ryan said, in the Old Testament, yes, it was allowed. But what did Jesus say? What did he say? What did he say? Because the only conversation Jesus had about spouses is he was talking to the lady at the well. And what did he say? He said, you with this man, but he ain't yours. You had a couple of others, but he didn't say that you couldn't. And he certainly didn't talk about the practice of men having multiple wives. Now, later on in the New Testament, what we do here is Paul talking about, only having one husband and one wife. But where did that come from? Where did that shift take place? Right? So, that is interesting. Listen, I'm all about having that kind of conversation. I love it. I'm open to it. New Testament says one man to one wife. That is what Paul says. But where did that shift take place? Why did the shift take place? Was it a cultural thing? It's, what kind of took place? Vernell said, yes, I was just thinking the Old Testament in the Bible beginning reads like a sexual novel. I got the subject. Now, listen, honey, a whole sexual novel. There's all kind of stuff in there. All kind of stuff. Yes, I love it. I love it. So yes, these are the types of questions you are wanting to have with your partner before you say, I do. Now, don't beat yourself up. If you're married and you haven't had these conversations, it's never too late. Go ahead and have those conversations so that you can see, and then y'all can come to an agreement about some things. Ryan said, even if it were legal, can you handle multiple spouses? Can you handle it? Can you? Financially, can you handle it? What's your money looking like, right? Physically, can you handle it? It's a lot of drama. It is a lot of drama. If we're looking at the examples in the Bible, everybody that had multiple wives, Lord Jesus, it was always something. So yeah, it is a lot. So religion, you want to definitely have that conversation. Ryan said, I believe it took place because men were not being responsible to all of their wives, picking and choosing which they took care of. That's just your thought. But listen, that makes sense, right? It definitely makes sense. God never condemns it. Like, God never says not to have it. And even when you look at, how do we get in Bible study? Y'all, so I have a show that I'm going to start doing on a consistent basis. It's called I've Got Questions. And these kind of conversations are definitely going to definitely be covered. But yeah, it's interesting. And that makes sense, Ryan. It definitely makes sense. Vernell said, just remember, ladies, you can't buy a shoe without trying it on. Know your partner before marriage. Listen, it is certainly, you need to know your partner before you get married. Now, because I'm pulling on you. Yeah, so listen, if you want to come on live and you want to not have to type your responses in the comments, you can do so. Click on the link that's in the comments. And if you want to come on live and answer what you've asked in the past that you thought needed to be asked, or maybe questions that you like, dang, I wish I did, I wish I had asked that question. I want to hear from you. So family, spiritual beliefs, morals and values, and this kind of ties into that, right? But what do you believe? Do you think it's okay for you to cheat on your spouse? What do you consider cheating? Now, I know that sounds so crazy, but people have a wide range of ideas about what cheating is. For some people, it's did you have sex? Was there sexual intercourse of any kind? For some people, it's emotionally, right? Are you telling someone else about how you feel? You're getting your emotional needs met somewhere else, right? And so when we're talking about cheating, we're really talking about a need that your spouse should be providing. You are getting that met somewhere else outside of your marriage. So it could be emotional, sexual, financial, even. So those are things you want to think about. Ryan said, does she mean no, as in sexual relations or just dating with that? Vernell, can you clarify for us? What are your thoughts, right? Getting to know your partner. No, look, is it no in the biblical sense? And for people who are not connected to the Bible, you don't have to be. I'll break everything down. In the Bible, they always talk about, and he knew her. That means he had sex with her, right? So, what are we talking about, Vernell? Hey, yes, so cheating can be a very broad. So we have our very first guest. Rosalind is joining us. Welcome, welcome. Vernell said, I think I said before marriage. Yes, getting to know them how before marriage. What you say? All right. Hey, Rosalind, how are you?
I'm doing okay. Trying
Excellent.
something new.
Listen, welcome, Rosalind. Thank you for being brave and joining us. So, Rosalind, when you are thinking about these questions, some questions that people are having, some questions that they are not, asking in conversations, what are your thoughts?
Well, my thoughts are this. Like I said, I've been married going on 28 years,
Wow,
and I
congrats.
can tell you
Hmm.
that my experience with dating at the time that I met my husband was very limited.
Gotcha.
So I fell head over heels
Hmm.
and asked little bitty questions,
Yeah. Yep.
almost, almost none. I was 19, and we
Hmm.
dated for 9. Got married at 28, and still did not ask key questions.
Yeah.
Um, no regrets. I just
Hmm.
didn't do it,
Hmm.
but it is important to do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's extremely important to do it.
Yeah.
Um, from a Christian, or as we say, from a biblical standpoint, it's biblical. Um, but if we are, my faith is certainly not what it was then. And
Okay.
if I was to exercise my faith now,
Hmm.
um, and, and base it on my relationship with Christ, I would say, first of all, He would give me a discerning spirit. I would have asked for one, maybe.
Okay.
I would have, checked a few more boxes than what I checked.
Okay.
And then also, I'm um, from a family who my mom and dad, when my mom passed, had been married 69 years.
Wow.
They had been married 25 when I was 1 years old.
Gotcha. Wow.
So
Mhm.
whatever they did before my arrival, they had already messed up. You know what I mean? They had already did their mess, their
Yeah,
junk,
yeah,
their
yeah.
whatever. So what I saw was togetherness, unity.
Okay.
Uh, they walked the same walk, but
Mm.
I know that's not how it started.
That's
I'm
a
not
good,
naive. Yeah.
yeah. Rosalind, you're saying some really good things, and I think it's important. The first point that you brought out was, one, I got married young, and I didn't have a lot of dating experience. And so I don't want people to like, don't beat yourself up. If you didn't ask these
Hmm.
questions, if you didn't know, okay, you didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, right? So I think that's important that you bring that out. The other thing is, um, the what you saw role modeled um, plays a role as well, right? Because what we see a lot of times we emulate, and we bring that into our marriage, whether for good or bad. The things that we are, um, that we've seen, we we bring it in with us. So that's a really good point. Now, let me ask you this, and I know. just from hearing you talk right now, where you stand spiritually. But sexually, I want to bring up a question that Vernell said. Thank you, Vernell, for clarifying that. So this idea of, I need to know how to please my partner, how he can please me. How important to you, and I'm gonna bring some other people on as well. But what are your thoughts about that, right? This whole idea of where are we at? Are we on the same page sexually? Are we sexually compatible?
Mm-hmm.
How important is having that question, asking that question, having those conversations?
Extremely.
Mm-hmm.
It's extreme. I mean, that's the one answer I could give. It's extremely important. And probably, I mean, I used to joke and say, hey, when I'm in my 50s, I'm going to be in my prime. Well, that, that was a promise that I couldn't deliver on. but but all hope is not lost.
There you go. There you go. Listen.
You know, yeah, all hope. I mean, when you're 19, it's different. I'm just saying. When you're 19, it's different. When it's 28, it's different. And so you have to really, really want to succeed in not only in the bedroom, but in all areas of your marriage or relationship. You know, and it takes work.
Yes.
That's why I'm tuning in tonight.
There you go. Listen.
I'm not ashamed.
And that's right. And that's right. It's always about how can we grow. So thank you for coming on, Rosalind, and sharing your thoughts and your feelings.
You're welcome. Glad to have been able to join.
Thank you. So
is that now? Am I supposed to leave now?
Yeah. Do you know how to do it?
No, of course not.
Right, let me see how. Okay.
You can just tune me out and I can tune back in.
Okay. I don't think you have to do anything. Just you let me do it.
Okay.
All right. I think I did it right. Okay. So you don't have to be afraid to come on. That's what it's going to be like for those of y'all up here. So I love what Rosalind was saying, right? It's important to have conversations. Sometimes you don't even know what to ask. Sometimes you get caught up, right? You're like, dang, I love him or I love her. And you don't have these conversations. Sometimes, and I think I saw it in the comment too, is that when you are connected with someone, right? And let's say if y'all are having sex, sometimes you get sex brain. You stop thinking rationally. And you're like, well, it's delicious. And that's where you go from there. So that part is something for you to think about. So if you want to come on live, click the link. You can come on live and tell us your thoughts. What questions did you have or wish that you had asked? So you can definitely do that. Vernell clarified that she means asking the questions, getting clear about it beforehand. That is, listen, you got to ask the questions. And you definitely want to make sure that you all are on the same page as that. So that's going to be important. And I don't know if I want to really make sure I'm emphasizing that. Like, we weren't necessarily talking about sex. We talked about it last week. But it's going to always come up because sex is a part of marriage. And you need to make sure you are sexually compatible with your partner. And what I mean by that is you all have the same interest or level of explorative behaviors, right? So what I mean by that is this. You may not be maybe you haven't engaged in certain practices before, right? Whether it's sexual positions, using toys, dressing up, having sex other than the bedroom, right? You may not have experienced that, but you may be open to trying it, where your partner may be like, no, it's off the table, right? So that's what I mean when we're talking about compatibility. Those are things you want to assess. Are they open to it? Are they interested in it? If they're like, no, I'm only interested in this, at least you know, right? And that lets you know that this is probably not the person for you, because if you go into marriage and you are not sexually compatible, guess no. Sex is very important in marriage, and if you're not satisfied sexually, that's going to create issues and problems. Now, there is always ways to enhance and improve your sex life. So I want to make sure that we're all clear on that. And we've had shows where we've talked about things that you can do to spice things up. It's been maybe like a year or two, and so maybe we'll do another show on that. If y'all are open to that, put that in the comments, because I'm always wanting to provide topics that are useful, helpful. So if that's something that you want us to talk about, ways to enhance your sex life, put that in the comments and let me know, because we'll definitely do that. But sex life can be enhanced and sex should be delicious with your partner, right? You should know what your husband wants. You should know what your wife wants, and you should be willing to please them to make that so. And so if you already know that this person is not willing, so for example, when it comes to fellatio or cunnilingus, right? That's oral sex. So for the men, it's fellatio. For the women, it's called cunnilingus. If your partner is already letting you know, I don't do that, I'm not interested, and you are like, I need it, it's delicious, you already see where it's at. Do not go into a relationship telling yourself that I am going to be able to change this person. You're bound to fail. If they have already made it clear, it's nothing wrong with that. It just means that you guys are not compatible. Don't make that mistake, but you do need to have those conversations. Okay. All right. Ryan said, I believe some blank should be the center of it all, even intimacy. If there are problems, include your prayer and counseling. Listen, get help. Get help. You may be married, and that might be an issue that you are having where your partner is rigid. They are not open to doing anything, to exploring. Pray. Yeah, definitely pray. But yeah, y'all need to go to therapy. Go to a counselor, go to therapy, an individual that is trained to help work through that. Because sometimes, and we talked about this before, there are issues there. There are blockages. If your spouse or partner has been sexually assaulted, abused, or anything like that, that can certainly play a role in why they are closed off to performing certain things or having certain things done on them. So those are things that you need to have. Those are conversations you want to have, right? So excellent, excellent, excellent. Morals and values, we kind of talked about that, right? What is cheating to you? Will you cheat? I need to make sure you are clear on what happens if you cheat. Like that should be a very clear conversation with wherever you are. Some people are like, I'm okay if you, whatever it is, have that conversation so that you get a clear understanding of it. Goals is another thing that you want to find out from your partner. And you can ask the question, what are your goals? Where do you see yourself 2, 3, 4, 5 years from now? Where do you see us? Now, when you put that us in there, I want you to watch how they respond. Their body language, in addition to what they say, but their body language is going to be telling. Because if you're dating a person and you're thinking about marriage, right, and thinking about marriage with this person, and you say to them, where do you see us in a year, 2, 5 years from now? And honey, they recoil and they like, what, us? Well, that is a clear indicator that they are not looking at you for marriage, right? If they have not thought about it, if they're not able to answer that question as far as where they see themselves. I mean, this is more so I'll say it from the woman asking a man that question. Let me start that way. So a woman asking a man, where do you see yourself 2, 3, 4, 5, 10 years from now? If they're not able to answer that question, that's a sign. That lets you know that they are not forward thinkers, that they are not thinking ahead, that they haven't planned. Like, even if you don't have all of the pieces in place, if you can't say, well, I've been thinking about it, and I'd like to maybe be in a different career, right? Or I'd like to have X amount of dollars saved up, or if they have no idea. Again, every question you're asking, you are assessing their appropriateness as a partner. You are assessing how they are and recognizing that how they are now is going to translate into marriage. And you want to think about it from that perspective. So if, as a single person, they are not forward thinking, they are not thinking ahead, they have no plans, no goals in a marriage, how are you leading? How are we partnering up if you are not forward thinking? Especially as a wife or as a woman, you have thoughts about what you want to do, where you want to see things go. It may be challenging for you. So if right now you're hearing me bring these questions up and you're like, I don't know. I don't even know where I want to be in a year, 2 years from now. This is a great time for you to start assessing. Take some time to sit down and start figuring out, where do I want to be? Whether it's, where do I want to be financially? Where do I want to be emotionally, right? Do I need to get therapy, counseling? Do I have trauma I need to deal with? Do I need to start taking better care of me, right? Do I need to learn how to engage in self-care so I can be a healthier person, so that I can be the type of partner that I'm wanting my partner to be, right? Am I healthy enough, right? Where do you want to be financially, spiritually, career-wise? Where do you want to be? These are all things that you want to take some time to sit down and think about, right? Assess, figure out, where am I trying to be? Welcome, Selena. Selena, where are you joining and tuning in from? So those are the things you want to start thinking about, right? You're asking your partner these questions, but if they turn around and ask you the question, do you know, right? And if you haven't thought about it, then you want to kind of look at that and start thinking about it and start planning it out. So if you need help with self-care, our self-care course link is in there. One of the other questions that you want to ask too, has to do with housing. Now, I know that sounds kind of weird, but I want y'all to think about it from the perspective of, when I picture myself settled down and married, where do I want to be, right? Do I want to be in Portsmouth? Do I want to be in Virginia? Do I want to be in Texas? Do I want to be in California? Where do we want to be, right? And what type of housing do we want to be in? I know that sounds so weird. I can't tell you how many times there's one partner that's like, you thought I wanted to be in an apartment for the rest of my life? And they're like, yeah, I'm good with that. What's wrong? And the other partner is like, no, I want to purchase a house. I want to live in a housing community. This is not where I'm. And the other person's like, what? That's good. So having those kind of conversations, asking those questions, right? When you settle down, what comes to your mind? And so asking your partner that question. Where do they see themselves? Do they want to purchase? Are they okay with renting? Where do y'all want to live, community-wise, state-wise? What kind of location? If you're going to have children, where would you want them to be raised? And then the last topic that you want to have, now there's a lot more, but for the sake of time, conflict. Now, this, again, is something that you want to not only ask about, but you need to also be watching for. How does this person handle conflict? Conflict is a normal and natural part of any relationship. If you don't have conflict, like if you don't have disagreement, right? I'm not talking about you beating somebody up, y'all fighting like that, but a disagreement. If you're not having a disagreement, how can you grow? It is normal, it is natural to have conflict in a relationship. Okay? You want to assess how. I'm going to start with you because I always tell my clients start with you first, right? So, how do I handle conflict? Do I find it very challenging and difficult to accept feedback? Do I find it very challenging and difficult to be pulled on the carpet? Do I find it very challenging and difficult to acknowledge and admit when I'm wrong? Do I say sorry or do I not? Do I blame or do I accept responsibility? So those are things you want to ask yourself first. You want to assess you first, right? And then you want to ask and assess those questions of your partner. When we have disagreements, how do they respond? Do they lash out? Are they getting all loud and stuff like that? Or are they able to communicate how they feel and ask you and listen and y'all communicate, and can you grow through the conflict? That's what you should be looking for in a partner. Somebody who can do that. Red flag, they never say they're sorry. It's never their fault. Those are things you want to run. But how do you handle conflict? And how do you manage conflict? Those are things that you want to look for. It goes back to their family as well. What does their family do? Is conflict a normal, natural part? Is it they always fighting? But just know, more than likely, probably not all the time. But so those are things that you want to think about. Do they avoid confrontation? Or are they aggressive? Or are they passive aggressive, right? Where they're not going to just come right out and say how they feel. Instead, they like, how you doing? Why we not talking? What's up? I'm good. No, you're not good. So those are things you want to think about. Those are questions you want to ask. And those are topics that you need to be assessing, asking, and engaging in when it comes to your partner before you say, I do. This has been another delicious conversation. For those of y'all who have questions, go ahead and ask your questions. If you want to come live in these last few minutes and ask your questions, you can. But what questions do you all have when it comes to how do I ask these questions? Is there another way that I could do it? Now's the time to ask your questions. Now it's time for question and answers. Excellent. Thank you, Rosalind. What questions might y'all have? And again, if you want to come live and ask your question, you certainly can. The link is in the comment if you have questions. The other thing we always like to know is what additional or other topics you like for us to cover in our Relationship Fridays. So I always want to know that. So put that in the comments as well. What you want to know, what you want us to cover. And I'm so happy for those of y'all who have been brave. That's like, this is something different. Let me see what they doing over here. Like my girl Rosalind. But any questions, comments that y'all have, now is the time that you can ask it. Or even if you have just comments that you'd like to come live and speak it. Now's the time. And we always want to say thank you for joining us. Please make sure that you are liking. Let me see. I need you to like this page if you haven't done so. I also want you to follow this page. When you follow the page, then that make sure that you are notified whenever we're doing things. So I want you to like and follow this page as well as share it. And then when we're finished tonight, I want you to go to the YouTube channel and I want you to subscribe, please. I want to we're at like 30. I think we're at like 30. I want us to can we get to like 50 by next week? Can we do that? Like, that shouldn't be too hard. So we want y'all to help us get there. This has been another wonderful and engaging Relationship Friday. Thank y'all for making it what it is. Thank y'all for sharing. We will be back no, we are not going to be here next week. Next week is my birthday. So we will not be here, but there will be, I'm going to go and find the video where we talked about how to spice up your love life with your spouse. I'm going to find that video and that's going to play. So come back, watch that. And, but we won't be live. It'll be streaming live, but I won't be there. But I want to see those of y'all who watch it, put your comments in there. I love coming back and looking at the comments. Hey, Selena. Selena said, I think true colors don't show up until after marriage when it's too late. Listen, Selena, some of that is true, right? Sometimes you don't get to see the real deal of the person, but you can certainly, you won't know anything if you're not asking questions, right? Because when you ask these questions, you want to look at how are they answering the questions? Are they resistant to answering the questions? And so if you do due diligence in asking these questions, then you already know where their mindset is. So they may not tell you everything, you may not see it all, but their mindset, you already know. Oh, you off. We can't get married because you're off. And I already know that if you're off and we get married, ain't nothing gonna change. All right. But you're absolutely right. Sometimes they take the mask off and you see all of what's back there. But if you ask these questions beforehand, you're going to start to really see who this person is a lot more than if you didn't ask any of these questions. Thank you for my birthday shout out. Rosalind said, it's there. Sometimes signs and behaviors are ignored. Yes. Or we choose to be passive. Yes, that happens. So you live, you learn, and you keep it moving. Right? You don't know what you don't know. But these are questions that you want to be asking. And these are things that you want to be assessing for. Now that you do know. Well, I have enjoyed my time with you all as usual. I will see you all not next week, but the week after that. Y'all have a happy Juneteenth. Y'all be safe out here. Happy Juneteenth to everyone. I will certainly enjoy my birthday. I plan to do that. If you want to connect with us, we have groups that we are running. So you can connect with us. We have our grief group. We have our self-care group that's going on. We also have our group for men. We are supporting our men because they're not getting the support they need. So we have a safe space for our men. And so if you want to connect and get any of those services or supports, connect with us, send us an email or you can connect with us through our website. We would love to partner with you and help you become your healthiest self. You all be blessed. Have a great rest of your Friday. Take care of yourself. Find some type of self-care that you can engage in, whether it's eating healthy, drinking some water. I'm going to drink water after this. Drinking some water, listening to something positive, journal, do something. So I want y'all to engage in self-care, take care of you. And y'all have a great rest of your Friday.